Oh, yeah. Make sure we get a good sound check going. Good evening, America. Welcome to the Ryan Samuel Show. Tonight, we're basically going to continue what we talked about last night. See, these are things that I don't like to do. Number one, I don't like to do shows just kind of off the rip and off the cuff where I haven't been able to research or figure out what is going on before I jump on air and talk about it. Now, we watched Donald Trump's live speech last night about all of the allegations of voter fraud, and that's what we called them last night, and what happened in 2020, allegedly, from Donald Trump's perspective and point of view. And I said that I would need to review the evidence. So I did. I reviewed the evidence, and we're going to go over it again tonight, just to make sure we have a clear understanding of what's actually happening and going on here. The transparency that has occurred in the Trump administration has been pretty paramount when it comes to a number of issues. But people have been asking, oh, well, you need proof of this. You need proof of this. And it's something that's very hard to prove because you don't really know who voted and who voted for what, or if somebody voted twice or three times. There's not really records of that you can dive into and produce the proof that certain people want. So Donald Trump produced a pretty substantial series of documents that could lead someone to believe that his allegations are actually true. That's or not. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Is this just fluff? Is it nonsense? Is it smoke in order to get ready for a midterm loss, which is the Democrats' position? Or is it real and they're finally just declassifying it? So tonight, we are going to break down the document dump by the Trump administration on the voter fraud allegations that have been occurring for the past 6 years. I have them. We're going to look them over. We're going to discuss whether or not they are real, they are legitimate, or if we believe a word that they say. Don't forget, you can call into the show, 561-786-2916. Do not forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Follow on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Rumble, everywhere. Follow us everywhere. We got good stuff. Don't forget to go to ryanfsamuels.com and sign up for the blog. Just put your email in. It is free. And we write a news article basically just every day, and we publish it. I write it, or a member of the team writes it. So we will be right back. Do not go anywhere. Great show. We got people piling in from all over the place. Hit that like button now. Keep tapping. Tap, 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 tap. Let's get it pushed up in the algorithm. Let's be the #1 show tonight. We will be right back. last night, Donald Trump gave a speech allegedly exposing all of these documents that he had, collusion with China, the CIA, the NSA, withholding information about China trying to steal elections, voter fraud in Michigan, and illegal immigrants on voter rolls. Those are the three things that he discussed, that he talked about. But before Donald Trump even came out to discuss these things, the Democrats came out accusing him of lying before he even gave this speech. Now, that's always interesting, and that was very interesting to me yesterday. We did it live. We were listening live, and then I'm on Twitter, and I'm looking at videos of Chuck Schumer and all of these Democrats from hours before he even gave it a speech accusing Donald Trump of lying. How can you preemptively say that the president is lying in a speech that you haven't watched yet or heard or he has even given? To me, that seems suspicious. That seems like this is a preemptive strike. What we're doing is that we are desperate, and this is going to be the story. We are going to come out. We're going to accuse
Donald Trump's speech was full of outright lies.
Because we don't have any other thing. Even news studios refuse to air it. CNN refused to air it. I think ABC refused to air it. There were multiple news studios that refused to air it. Now, this is the president of the United States. Like him, hate him, be indifferent towards him. Perfectly fine. I don't care what you think. I don't care. You have a right to think what you want to think. You have a right to say what you want to say. But when the president of the United States is giving a speech, even if you're just basic journalism, you have a moral duty and an obligation to report on it. Now, you may disagree with it. You may actually say he's lying. You may actually believe that he's lying. Again, all perfectly fine. But to refuse to cover it at all? What is there something he's saying that you don't want your listeners to hear? Is there something that Donald Trump is saying that you're trying to hide from your listeners? Because your average MSNBC listener, if they don't hear it on MSNBC, they're not going to hear it anywhere else, or they're just going to assume that they're lying. They're going to say they're lying. They're not telling the truth. Donald Trump is full of it. You didn't even hear what he had to say. Here is Chuck Schumer. This is hours before Donald Trump gives his speech. Hours before he gives his speech. Let's listen to this.
Tonight, you will hear from a weak, flailing Donald Trump with a deeply unpopular agenda who knows he is destined for a resounding defeat in November. What is his response to his impending reckoning? To pull out every stop to cheat, to undermine the right to vote, rig the midterm elections in his favor, knowing massive losses are otherwise inevitable. Trump won't expose anything of substance about 2020. He'll just echo the same stale, baseless, pathetic lies he's repeated for 6 years.
How do you know any of that is true? How do you know any of that, Chuck? Did you sit down with Donald Trump? And you'd be like, hey, so do you have your script for tonight? I'd like to review your script for this evening. Yeah, these are all lies. Don't worry about it. Yeah, go ahead. Say what you want to say. I'm going to go out there and tell everybody that they're all lies. How do you know any of this? We all knew he was going to drop some documents. Did you look at the documents? No, because they weren't released until the speech was dropped. So how do you know what these declassified documents contained? This is from the same guy who screamed that Donald Trump colluded with Russia. Turns out, complete lie. 100% complete lie.
Let's take a quick break.
My name is Ted Nugent, and I got a call from my buddy Ryan F. Samuels, and he wants me to tell you that he's a working hard, playing all-American son of a bitch who is celebrating God, family, country, and the success column of working hard, playing hard Americans. He's a conservative blogger who would love you to subscribe and visit his website. It's ryanfsamuels.com. ryanfsamuels.com. A promotion for this Facebook page and a subscription to his blog is what I'm here to do. Because if he's contacted me, he's probably rock solid in the asset column, and you ought to join him at Ryan, R-Y-A-N-F, like in Fatuma, Samuels.com, RyanFSamuels.com. Uncle Ted reporting for duty. It's going to be the greatest hunting season of my life because I work hard and I play hard and I hunt hard and I live a hard American dream. It's perfect. Godspeed, Ryan. Live it up. RyanFSamuels.com. I'm going to go there and visit. Sounds like my kind of campfire.
So we must be clear-eyed. This is about laying groundwork to undermine the 2026 election before a single vote has been cast. An election that will bring accountability for the higher costs, the endless legal wars costing over $100 billion taxpayer dollars, and rampant corruption that he has unleashed on the American people. Trump knows he can't defend Republicans' disastrous record, so he's trying to discredit the voters who will judge it in November. The reasons his numbers are so low is because he's obsessed with bullshit like this instead of what Americans actually care about. Instead of confronting persistent inflation, rising gas prices, higher grocery bills, and out-of-control housing costs, Trump and the GOP will launch a coordinated, multi-front campaign to subvert the will of the voters. They will apply endless pressure to pass the so-called SAVE Act, the most devious voter suppression legislation in modern history.
All the Save America Act does is require ID to cast your vote. That's it. There's zero other pork in there. There's no other restrictions. There's no other obligations. There's no other nonsense. It simply says that for federal election, this is just federal elections, not state elections, that for any federal election, Congress, Senate, presidency, the individual casting their vote is required to produce identification. And it gives every avenue of opportunity for that person to produce identification. If you just got your citizenship 1 hour before voting, you could bring that piece of paper and use that to vote. It is the most fair, straightforward, black and white bill in almost American history. It's common sense. And 84% of the population agrees with it. Chuck Schumer is holding it up in the Senate. But these are the things that Donald Trump is trying to get past and trying to expose what happened in 2020 and what's continuing to happen with our elections and how the Democrats are uniquely involved.
Aimed at disenfranchising tens of millions of American citizens. I say to Donald Trump, when it comes to the SAVE Act, the courts have rejected it, Congress has rejected it, even members of your own party have rejected it. So give it up. The SAVE Act ain't going anywhere.
Ain't.
We live in the United States of America, where voters choose their leaders. Leaders do not choose their voters. Senate Democrats will fight like hell to preserve that principle and make sure our elections belong to the voters, not to Donald Trump. That's our sworn promise. And no matter what Trump says tonight, no matter how hard he tries to avoid the will of the American people, he will not be able to escape the inevitable. Resounding defeat in November and his coronation as a lame duck president.
He hasn't even given the speech.
Donald Trump over at the White
Hadn't even given the speech yet. CNN refused to report on it. along with many other stations. And this is something that Donald Trump had brought up in his speech, that, hey, these news stations are refusing to report on the speech of the President of the United States. The same President of the United States that's in charge of the executive branch that allows them to communicate all of their business on federal airwaves through the Federal Communications Commission with billions of dollars in infrastructure that they don't pay a dime for, that the American taxpayer pays for. So when the President of the United States speaks, you should probably be reporting on it. I'm not saying you should agree with it. I'm not saying that you should most likely not agree with it. If you're a member of the media, you have a duty to play devil's advocate no matter who is in office. But they don't want to air it. They don't want the population to see what's coming out. That is what stinks. It smells rotten. If you don't want to hear, if what Donald Trump is saying is completely ludicrous, wrong, and absolutely illogical, I would report on it. Joe Biden comes out and wants to talk about how killer clowns have taken over, the Republican Party, and they're going to feed them popcorn and get them out of office. I would say, yes, I'm going to air this speech. I'm going to air this speech. I'm going to laugh at him the entire time. I'm going to ridicule him and make fun of him. And I'm going to use this to my advantage to push the agenda that I want. I wouldn't say he's ridiculous, he's crazy. I don't want anybody to hear that. Now, if Joe Biden had some dirt on the Ryan Samuels show and the Ryan Samuels Media Corporation and said, we're going to talk about Ryan Samuels' text messages from 1994 where he went to a bowling alley with his cousin and called his cousin dumb and got grounded, or something even way more extreme than that, maybe I'd be like, I don't want to air that. Because I would be guilty. If you're not guilty, why wouldn't you air it? Why wouldn't you air it? The one thing that Donald Trump has done has been to expose the left for what they are. To expose the left for who they are. And has shown the American people exactly why these people should not have any power whatsoever. He has done a great job at that. Nobody else has ever done it because every other Republican has always played nice in the sandbox with these people on the left. Donald Trump doesn't care. He goes after Republicans and Democrats alike. That's what I like about him. He's not a politician. He hasn't spent 30, 40, 50 years in Washington, D.C., where people owe him favors and have dirt on him. No, he doesn't need billions and billions of dollars of other people's money. He's got his own money. He's got his own network. He's got his own business. And he can just walk in front of a microphone and 85% of the world is going to hear it. So they hate him because they can't control him. And the only way to stop and cover up the wrongs that you're doing is to silence him. That's why he was removed from Twitter shortly after the 2020 election. We removed him from Twitter. Then they removed him from Facebook to silence him. Don't listen to what he has to say. That's what guilty people do. If I am innocent and there's somebody screaming against me and they're completely wrong and they sound like a lunatic, I just stand there and just laugh. And then I would go ahead and prove them wrong. But you can't do that if the person who's screaming at you is right. You have to avoid it. You have to shut down dissenting voices. That's what totalitarianism is, and that's what we saw after 2020. Rudy Giuliani probably the best mayor in New York City history was Donald Trump's attorney, came out with concerns about the election, spoke about it publicly. They took his law license away. The New York State bar removed Rudy Giuliani's law license for addressing concerns, not because he got caught embezzling money or falsifying documents and evidence, simply for opposing the narrative that was in the mainstream media. He exposed all of this. They shut him down on Twitter. He just bought his own social media company and Truth Social, and then boom, now he's back in the White House. So it's the same old dirty trick. Here is Jim Acosta. He calls it the Jim Acosta show because he's just stealing it from me. No, just kidding. But here's Jim Acosta. Let's see what he has to say.
It was another one of those deranged dictator speeches for Donald Trump over at the White House. He brought out all of these crazy conspiracy theories about China and Venezuela. But one thing you did not hear from Donald Trump throughout that speech, he did not present any evidence that votes were switched from Donald Trump to Joe Biden. You know why? Because that evidence does not exist. It has never existed.
Because you can't get your hands on it. You can't prove it. And that's what I've said all along. And that's what I've always said about the way Donald Trump communicates things is sometimes he sets himself up. But the best thing about Donald Trump is that he listens and changes his approach, which is what got him reelected. But Donald Trump dumped thousands of files. I have them. We're going to go over them. Don't go anywhere. He dumped thousands of files about the Chinese stealing 200 million Americans' voting data, about the CIA and the NSA intentionally withholding the information they had about China meddling in our elections, so it would be removed from the president's daily brief. Now, the PDB, or the president's daily brief, is a folder. You have millions of people, not millions, but thousands of people and millions of dollars spent on gathering intelligence around the world so that they compile real risks and threats to the United States, the top things that the president of the United States should know. They put it in a folder and they present it to him every day. It's the daily brief. This is what's going on in Iran. This is what's going on in Qatar. We found out we had a double spy from China. All of the most important things. But there was a coordinated effort in what these documents reveal that China was trying to meddle with our elections, and that they intentionally removed that information from the president's daily brief so Donald Trump would not know about it before the election. Keep in mind, this is the same community where 54 intelligence agents, former intelligence officers, signed an affidavit swearing that Donald Trump colluded with Russia, which turned out to be completely bogus.
The thing that was scary about that speech is he was talking about going after journalists. He was talking about going after the broadcast licenses for ABC and NBC for refusing to carry that speech. But this is the important thing to keep in mind. There was one person who did try to commit voter fraud in the 2020 election, and that is Donald Trump. He tried to overturn a free and fair election, and we have lots of evidence that he tried to do that. Remember the call to the Georgia Secretary of State? I want to find those 11,780 some odd votes. Donald Trump is the election fraudster in this country. He just needs to look in the mirror.
They're so desperate. He doesn't even have a job anymore. He got fired because he was just useless. Here's Cory Booker talking about Donald Trump's speech. They're going to try to discredit it. But we got the receipts tonight.
Donald Trump's speech was full of outright lies, dangerous disinformation, and yet again his attempts to undermine and subvert our democracy. Right. Now he knows he's headed toward midterm losses. And his only hope is to undermine the validity and trust in our elections.
This is the talking point from the left. And sometimes you just need to take one little quick step back and listen to what they're saying. Donald Trump is saying this so he'll subvert the 2026 election. It won't change anything. What's it going to change? He can scream he's blue in the face. This is election fraud. This isn't happening. They're cheating on the midterms. You're still going to win. Is that somehow going to get it overturned? So by saying that, the Democrats do this all the time. They put out an unfinished thought that doesn't come to a conclusion. And then all the little minions start repeating it and screaming it. They're useful idiots. Oh, he's just trying to subvert the 2026 midterm elections. How? How will that change anything? Whether he says it or he doesn't say it, the results will be the same. Because if you are cheating and you continue to cheat, him speaking about it does nothing. You'll still win the election. So explain to me how that does anything. It doesn't. They know it doesn't.
Don't let him do it. We have work to do against a desperate president that's willing to do whatever it takes to try to stop us from voting and participating. We will fight. He will lose. The people will win. Donald
His campaign to cast out.
What are you talking about? It doesn't make any sense. It makes about as much sense as a soup sandwich. Let him say what he wants to say.
All the voting machines.
Democrats
You've been
themselves
saying this
have had
time.
their fair share of issues with the voting process, especially during the Russia collusion hoax. Oh, yeah. Donald Trump teamed up with Russia and stole the election in 2016 from Hillary Clinton. That was their big campaign. They lost it. You know what they wanted at that time? They wanted everybody to have paper ballots so that the Republicans couldn't collude with Russia and that the election could not be stolen and that the election could not be interfered with. They were election deniers in 2016. Here is Kamala Harris asking for paper ballots and secure elections, which no longer fits their agenda. So now they're against it.
We are talking with them about the fact that it is probably best that you do not have your election system connected to the internet. Because that will create greater vulnerabilities. And then look at where we are now in this year of our Lord 2018. We're talking about paper ballots, but that actually might be one of the smartest systems. Going back to, a day when we could have something tangible that we can hold on to, because Russia cannot hack a piece of paper like they can a computer system connected to the internet.
Agreed. I agree. They also can't hack
the ballot recording machine.
They also can't hack your driver's license if you show up to vote. Sounds like we all want secure elections, just at different times. 10 years ago, you guys would have been all for this. Here's a compilation of Democrats talking about that Donald Trump needs to get over the conspiracy that the 2020 election was stolen. But then in 2016, they're doing the same thing. Here they are. Here's a compilation of Democrats in 2016 talking about how Donald Trump stole the election. Here is Sheila Jackson Lee.
Demonstrated that ballot recording machines and other voting systems are susceptible to tampering.
Even hackers with limited prior knowledge, tools, and resources are able to breach voting machines in a matter of minutes.
In 2018, electronic voting machines in Georgia and Texas deleted votes for certain candidates or switched votes from one candidate to another.
The biggest seller of voting machines is doing something that violates Cybersecurity 101, directing that you install remote access software, which would make a machine like that a magnet for fraudsters and hackers.
These voting machines can be hacked quite easily.
You could easily hack into them. It makes it seem like all these states are doing different things, but in fact, 3 companies are controlling them.
There are a lot of states that are dealing with antiquated machines, right, which are vulnerable to being hacked.
Workers were able to easily hack into an electronic voting machine. It was possible to switch votes.
43% of American voters use voting machines that researchers have found have serious security flaws.
Demonstrate.
Paper ballots, why?
Here is Kamala Harris again on The View talking about we need to go back to paper ballots. We need more secure elections.
You've been saying that it's time for us to go back to paper ballots. Why?
Because Russia can't hack a piece of paper.
There you go. There you go. How was that? Senator Kamala Harris. You've been saying that it's
Nobody can hack a piece of paper. If it's your piece of paper tied to your ID and tied to your name, I'm glad that we could agree on that. Here's Hillary Clinton.
Every Secretary of State needs to be, assisted in making sure that they are not being hacked and attacked.
I continue to think that our voting machines are too vulnerable.
Researchers have repeatedly demonstrated that ballot recording machines and other voting systems are susceptible to tampering.
Even hackers with limited...
All of them. All of them.
He took some big...
So now Donald Trump... The document gives this speech last night.
The only other
thing about China. Now, although China produces our iPhones and they produce basically everything, this microphone, basically everything comes from China because of bad politicians' deals in American history, where we've outsourced our labor to China and we've basically become a shell company to the world where we really don't produce or provide anything. We just buy and consume. It's a topic for another night. But China's our enemy. China's not our friend. We're friendly with China. But they're our competitor, just like Russia. We're friendly with Russia, but they're still our enemy. They want who they want in office because it benefits them. China wants a president who's going to be pro-China. Russia wants a president who's going to be pro-Russia. Israel wants a president who's going to be pro-Israel. Same thing with Great Britain and any other power in the world that has the capability to meddle in our elections. Donald Trump drops this bomb last night. Here it is, talking about China, and actually releases intelligence agency documents, which we're going to get to, I promise. Stick around. Here we go.
The documents cover 5 major areas of concern. First, they show that over a period of years, starting during the 2020 election cycle, the People's Republic of China carried out what is believed to be the largest compromise of election data in history, resulting in China's illicit acquisition of 220 million U.S. voter files. That information includes names, addresses, phone numbers, political party preferences, and other sensitive data that would be needed to register to vote and engage in other nefarious activities, which is exactly what was happening. This data loss presents an unprecedented election security nightmare. The intelligence even shows that China has signed a data exploitation unit specifically to this new project.
220 million registered voters information. Now, he doesn't say what they did with it. He doesn't say that they walked in and pretended to vote and pretended to be somebody that they didn't, because he doesn't have that intelligence that would happen. But what he does know is that they took 220 million registered voters information. What else are you going to do with it? What else are you going to do with it? Here is CBS News trying to dumb this down and play it down.
he took some big swings at China. He didn't completely walk the line of the promise from the White House to not relitigate 2020.
He came close to it. He didn't use some of the rhetoric he has used in the past, but he inferred that there was still something problematic about that election. We know there was not.
And the claim that there are non-citizens and dead people actively
on voter voting, rolls, not substantiated.
Yeah, that is
not substantiated. But he said there are catastrophic vulnerabilities. And Tony, you have to ask yourself, what is that rhetoric about? Is that rhetoric about setting the stage for federal intervention in the midterms? I mean, we've had primary elections all this year. We're going to have more in August. Those primary elections have been conducted under this system that the president said is catastrophically vulnerable. Yet he and all Republicans and Democrats have accepted the elections, the results of those primaries, because they're being carried out according to state law and with resilient and checkable and auditable results.
Got to discredit it. But the funny thing is back in 2019, after Hillary Clinton had her catastrophic loss to Donald Trump and all these Democrats were crying and screaming and kicking in the streets, she goes on Rachel Maddow. And Hillary Clinton on Rachel Maddow says basically, well, the Russians stole the election. So you know what we need to do? We need to go to China and have China help us steal elections. You don't believe me? You don't think Hillary Clinton said that, do you? Before China stole 220 million registered voters' data. So this is before the documents indicate that that China stole $220 million in data.
You know, the only other adversary of ours who's anywhere near as good as the Russians is China. So why should Russia have all the fun? And since Russia is clearly backing Republicans, why don't we ask China to back us?
I hereby tonight ask China.
That's right. And not only that, China, if you're listening, why don't you get Trump's tax returns? I'm sure our media would richly reward you.
Interesting. So, superseding this, what we found out is that China stole 220 million registered voters' data in the United States. Just coincidence. I'm sure it's coincidence. We also found out through these documents that they were removing it from the president's daily brief. We also found out in these documents that members of the media were being paid to make bad reports on Donald Trump. So these are some of the documents. I've kind of been reading through them all day, and I'm kind of summarizing them. They're available to you. Go to whitehouse.gov/election integrity. Just search White House election integrity. It's going to pop right up. You can download the files yourself. You can look right all over all of them. So this is one of the files is the White House government transparency statement. So voter registration rolls from at least 18 states, more than 200 million voter records, were also compromised by China, the People's Republic of China. Lists specific states, including Florida and many others. The documents released are a direct validation of Trump's claims. So there are some core intelligence assessments. Here's one. The most important analytical report, China's preference for Trump's defeat, cyber collection for voter data, influence operations, and infrastructure risks. The documents indicate that China strongly preferred that Donald Trump be defeated and expand its cyber collection voter data and conduct large-scale manipulation capabilities to ensure Donald Trump doesn't get elected. This is all in the documents. All in the document from our intelligence community, from the White House. Could it be wrong? Yeah, sure. Their intelligence community is wrong all of the time. This also shows that in 2018 to 2020, the People's Republic in China conducted a multi-year campaign starting well before 2020 to ensure that Donald Trump did not get elected as president. There's a CIA, it's in there, CIA wire memo from the summer of 2020, June 25th, 2020. This has been declassified. Stating there is a specific threat reporting reaching the highest levels. The voter data scale is 200 million voters. People's Republic of China's analysis on U.S. voter registration information. People's Republic of China U.S. voter data, 7 states. 2023 user voter registration for 6 states, 18 states. These are all the memos that are there. There's internal coordination in emails. There's emails of internal debates on whether or not to show this to the president. There's the FBI of Albany internal memo provided to Chairman Grassley. FBI field intelligence and briefings point to ground-level reporting of the People's Republic of China's activities shared with Congress. This goes all the way up to 2023. So it has been absolutely confirmed that 18 plus states and over 200 million voter records have been compromised from China. It has been confirmed that China's cyber access to our voter infrastructure could possibly conduct large-scale voter manipulation. They almost didn't let Trump declassify this memo. Imagine being the president of the United States and you can't declassify a memo of a foreign nation that attempted, that assisted in ensuring you don't get reelected. Reporting on China's cyber and human intelligence activities aimed to U.S. election. It details specific People's Republic of China efforts to acquire voter registration data, political figures information, campaign details through opportunistic cyber intrusions, and other means. So if the Democrats disagree with this, and if the Democrats want to say that this is nonsense and that it's untrue, number one, air it. Air it. Print the documents out, study them, produce them on the air, and say, this is why this is wrong, this is why that is wrong, this is why he's lying. We talked to this guy here, they say it never happened, but they're not doing that. They have zero interest in investigating any of it. We're just going to tell him he's wrong. We're just going to tell everybody he's full of crap and that he's wrong. So here's the website. This is whitehouse.gov/election integrity. China's acquisition and exploitation of American voter data. Over a period of years, starting during the 2020 election cycle, the People's Republic of China carried out what is believed to be the largest compromise of election data in United States history, resulting in China's illicit acquisition of 220 million U.S. voter files. That information includes names, addresses, phone numbers, political party preferences, and other sensitive data that would be needed to register to vote and engage in other nefarious activities. This data loss presents an unprecedented election security nightmare. The intelligence even shows that China assigned a data exploitation unit specifically to this new project. Members of the deep state and our intelligence agencies worked to actively suppress and downplay information about the extent of China's sinister election meddling, covering it up from both the president and the American people. U.S. spy agencies began learning about the compromise of voter registration files in 2020. This is immediately after Hillary Clinton goes on Rachel Maddow and says, China, help us. Help us fight Russia in our own elections. I'm sure that's just a coincidence. U.S. spy agencies began learning about the compromise of voter registration files in 2020 when they discovered that tens of millions of voters' data in 18 states have been bought, stolen, or hacked by China. Yet those responsible for sounding the alarm instead kept the information hidden from the President of the United States. Whose election it was, by the way. Who gets to decide what national security information the number one elected official in the United States of America gets to hear? Who has more power over intelligence and information than the President of the United States in the United States? Some unelected bureaucrat? Make that make sense to me. Some unelected bureaucrat who's been working in this agency for 30 plus years, 40 years, who has all of these connections in China, Russia, wherever. How does that individual have the power or capacity to not produce intelligence communications to the President of the United States, specifically about information of another country trying to overthrow his personal election? When we talk about the deep state, this is what we're talking about. This is exactly what we're talking about. That's the first part of the documents he released. The next one is the Michigan voter registration investigation that was sent out by the FBI. This is from Michigan. Even when significant evidence of fraud has been detected, it has been buried and covered up. Among the disclosures are FBI files detailing evidence of alleged fraud by a large-scale voter registration operation in Michigan. In 2020, Michigan State Police raided a Democrat get-out-the-vote organization in Muskegon and were so concerned by what they found, they contacted the FBI in Detroit. The documents state that some canvassers admitted to FBI agents that they signed voter registration forms in other people's names, submitted fraudulent registrations for people who did not exist, and received gift cards tied to the number of applications they produced. The FBI agents working on the case believe that the crimes were committed, yet the Biden Department of Justice slow-walked the investigation for years. So this information is found, reported to the FBI. The FBI goes, hey, I really think that there's a problem here and that there was definitely some voter fraud committed. And then the Biden Justice Department goes, no, we're not going to look at that. Well, gee, I wonder why. Now, this data dump has a ton of documents in it. The documents describe allegations of systematic fake voter registration applications in Michigan. Signatures, for examples, signatures for voters who did not register but received ballots anyway, canvassers paid per registration or using incentives like gift cards, pot. Yeah, you got pot. You got marijuana. Workers filling out forms in cars, involvement from other states in efforts to suppress Trump votes. Key elements include references to hundreds of suspicious applications, widespread canvassing issues, and multi-year investigations. The methods alleged in all of these documents: prepaid cards for payment, forged signatures, memos, sit-in car registrations, marijuana incentives, and out-of-state actors. To get this document released, there was repeated delays in approvals, election timing concerns, and declinations by the U.S. Attorney's Office and Public Integrity Section. No prosecutions resulted in the interference cases. This started in 2020 to 2021. So here is a list of the documents that is in it. There's 18 documents. Number 1, the FBI Michigan 4-year case timeline, a chronological summary of investigations, witness interviews, prepaid calling card actually submitted as evidence, exams on registrations, handwritten forgeries, canvasser interviews delayed by elections, and 2024 declination discussions not to persecute these people who were caught doing voter fraud, by the way, with evidence. Number 2, prosecution declination. Number 3, FBI Michigan worker interview who was caught sitting in car with making fake registrations. The interview with the worker describing canvassers filling out their own fake registrations while they were sitting in cars. Number 4, Michigan fraudulent request memo. Memos detailing fraudulent registration requests. Number 5, witness interview who admits to widespread fake registrations. Number 6, another prosecution delay memo. Number 7, fake voter ID memo. Number 8, witness interview memo who is paid by registrations and other falsified documents. Number 9, witness interview memo who received marijuana for registrations. Number 10, witness interview memo who received gift cards for registrations. Number 11, witness interview memo, most likely forged memos of witness interviews of the most probable forged registrations. Number 12, witness interview from out-of-state actors who assisted in harvesting ballots. Number 13, FBI Michigan voter confirmed she did not register but received a ballot anyway. Number 14, internal memo expressing reluctance to close the case in 2021 despite the pressure. So they received pressure from the Justice Department to close the case, and the FBI agents were reluctant because they felt that there was something there. 15, this is the original referral from the Michigan State Police to the FBI. 16, documents related to GBI strategists, canvassing consulting group allegedly involved. Number 17, a voter fraud spreadsheet compiling voter fraud allegations, registrations, and canvasser details. Number 18 is just a number 18 is a glossary of all the documents. Interesting. All very interesting. Now, the documents exist. You can look them up, come to your own conclusion. They're real. They're coming directly from the FBI or CIA. They're actual memos that were posted. Like, we didn't just produce these. The third topic that he released is the astounding number of non-citizen voters that are actually registered to vote and on the voter rolls. In this document dump, according to the Department of Homeland Security, who did a review of state voter rolls on public records, they identified approximately 278,000 non-citizens who are registered to vote in federal elections. Since Democrat states refuse to share their voter files, the real number is actually much higher. Yet even this limited analysis found more than 250,000 foreigners illegally registered to vote. So this is without California, New York, Illinois, all these left-wing states did not contribute. And there's still over 250,000 illegal aliens on our voter rolls. Put together, these disclosures reveal an election system so broken and vulnerable that no one can possibly defend it. Hundreds of millions of U.S. voter files are in the hands of foreign governments. Our machines and ballot counting systems are exposed to hacking and manipulation. China and other countries have been trying to meddle in our elections. Evidence of fraud has been buried. Hundreds of thousands of non-citizens and dead people are listed and active on voter rolls, and yet we still have elections with no voter ID, no proof of citizenship, and tens of millions of ballots floating aimlessly through the mail. So when CNN says that that's not true before or right after Donald Trump gives this speech, but then he gives the speech, then he releases the documents. Did they look at them? I mean, how could you look at them and come to, any other conclusion? They're actually there, that they're actually registered to vote, and this does not include state voters, certain states. This is just only the states that cooperated. So this the documents in this one, this is the statement of voter registration database threats from our intelligence community. Foreign adversaries, Russia, China, Iran, have targeted hacked voter systems for years. Example, Russian probes in all 50 states in 2016 confirmed breaches in multiple states, China breaching systems pre-2020, and Iranian attempts. The breaches expose the system's vulnerabilities, usable for absentee ballot fraud at scale, altering registrations, deletions, or disruptions. Data from old breaches remains valuable for years. Broader context, non-election P2 breaches, like your credit report, Equifax, feed the dark web markets, enabling voter fraud. Document B, alien voter registration summary. DHS investigations review public voter files in 4 states, California, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Nevada, found over 250,000 citizens illegally registered. So I guess it does include California, but not New York and everywhere else. That's only in 4 states. Proactive states using the Department of Homeland Security SAVE system, citizenship verification, 25 states processed 68 million records, identifying 400,000 deceased voters and an additional 28,000 non-citizens. They drop the file. They submit the file to everyone through here, and CNN or ABC turns around and says, that's not true. There's not hundreds of thousands of dead people on the rolls. Then disprove the document. It also includes the Department of Homeland Security notifying its states, expanding probes, supporting the Department of Justice, urges removal of ineligible registrants to protect election integrity. Document B directly supports core claims with specific numbers. This validates accusations of illegal registrations diluting citizens' votes tied to border policies. It proves official Department of Homeland Security backing for calls to purge rolls and verify citizenship. It's there. It's there. How could you not want secure elections? How does an insecure election make anybody feel good inside? You know, I've said this for years. I grew up in New York, right outside of New York City. Grew up on Long Island. One of the most democratic places that there is in the world, in the history of the world. Brooklyn, New York City. My family's from Brooklyn. We have friends in Brooklyn. I grew up going to Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan. I went to John Jay College of Criminal Justice in New York City. Like, my mom taught at Columbia University. Like, I have been around a ton of people in New York growing up. And one thing I will tell you, and I've had this conversation with almost everybody I ran into. I say, you know who I very rarely run into? Somebody whose political philosophy is completely different than mine. The far left lunatic radical I only really saw on social media. Were there people that were Democrats? Yeah, absolutely. Or would those people oppose a fair election? No. 84% of the population agrees that voter ID should be required. 84%. There is very few polls that poll the American people at 84% in agreement of anything. You could poll the population and say, do you agree that everybody should eat a meal a day? And 64% of them would agree. It's speculative. It's also hyperbolic. But it is incredibly rare for everybody to agree 84% of the time. Why are they stopping it? Why don't they want it? Why aren't they airing the proof that it's happening? Or the evidence to suggest it's happening? Why aren't they airing it? Why instead are they refusing to air it and bury the story like the evidence suggests that they buried the information not only to the American public, but to the President of the United States about his own election? I think we all know the answer to that. Why did 54 intelligence officers swear that Donald Trump colluded with Russia, which turned out to be unilaterally and categorically false? Why did the state of New York or the city of New York go after Donald Trump for felonies that basically didn't exist? Why did that happen? Why do they go to social media platforms and shut down anybody who said the word election? Why do they shadow ban? Why do they take pages down? Why do they why are they so hell-bent on silencing the concerns? That's always a sign of guilt. That's always a sign of guilt. If you cannot let your opponent speak, that's because your opponent speaking will do far too much damage to you. And you can't have that. Thank you guys for tuning in. And make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Listen, go to ryanfsamuels.com. What are you doing there? Go there right now. Read the article I posted about this. I posted about it last night. The documents are there. Read up on it more. The more we report this, the more we push this out there, the more people are going to be able to go look. You go look for yourself. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to what I'm saying. Go look and read it. Then come back on here and tell me if I'm wrong or how I'm wrong. Don't be like CNN. Everything he said was nonsense. Okay. Go to ryanfsamuels.com. Sign up for the blog. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything. Posted the videos there. Put these articles together. Quick little 3-minute reads on topics that are going on. Uncle Ted Nugent says you need to subscribe to the blog. So make sure that you do. Thanks for tuning in. God bless you. God bless your families. And God bless the United States of America. We will see you Monday night. We are live Monday through Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 9 p.m. Eastern. Monday through Friday. Watch it on your TV. Send chats in on your phone. I will engage with them. Of course, I had to refresh the screen so all the chats are gone. And you can always call in. We do take live callers. And I will see you on Monday. Good night.